All right, so I got the board out of the clamps this morning. It glued up super smooth on the bottom. I just took a scraper, an old chisel, and I scraped off all the glue. Got that all off, and so I got one really good flat surface. This side had a little bit of imperfection, but it's not bad. It's maybe 10, 15 thousandths at the worst spot. So I'm just going to put this, I don't even have to run this through the thickness planer. I'm just going to run it through the drum sander just to get it squared up, and then we'll cut it apart again and do another glue up. I like to use the drum sander to flatten these pieces off before I glue them up again. That way there's no gaps. When you glue it up, you don't see the gap. It makes a nice tight fit, makes sure everything's nice and square, and just makes the glue up come out a lot better in the end. So I'm just going to run this through as little as possible just to true up the board, and that's it. I'm not going to take any extra off because it will be noticeable if too much gets taken off. Took about a 32nd of an inch off, if that, and now the board is perfectly smooth, both sides. So when this gets cut apart again, it'll be a lot easier, a lot straighter to glue back together. And it's hard to see without measuring it, but you can tell that the board thickness are all equal. So this will come out really good now. Now it's off to, going to put it on the table saw, and we're going to rip this into 1 3/8 strips and glue it back together again. The next step after we got it all sanded nice and smooth is I set up a stop block on my sled, my table saw, and now I'm going to cut it into 1 3/8 strips so that we can set up the pattern to reglue it. And that's the 8 blocks we need to finish the pattern. These are all the parts. They're all cut for the final time. This is the way they came off the saw. We did each cut. I showed you that, and these are put back in the same order. This right now would be an edge grain cutting board. It's not that interesting, but it would work. We could do something different by flipping every other one. Now we have more of a checkerboard type pattern, and it's still an edge grain cutting board. It's a lot more interesting, but it's still an edge grain, and we're shooting for an end grain. What we're going to do is we're going to roll these from edge grain to end grain, and this is where the magic happens. Now that's the Basketweave cutting board. Now this just gets glued together again and sanded for about 100 hours and finished, which I will show in future videos. Right now I'm going to glue this up and let it set for probably overnight, and then tomorrow we'll run it through the drum sander and get it flattened off, and then start going through the grades of sanding, figure out what we're going to do for a top edge, a bottom edge. I think I'm going to put feet on this, so I probably won't cut finger grooves in it. I don't know yet. It's a pretty good size board. It's not huge, but it's 10 3/4 by a little over 14. So it's not a great big board, but it's a decent sized board. Well, it's time to glue this board up. Got everything ready here. This is pretty simple glue up. We just got to make sure we get plenty of glue on it. All the pieces are nice and straight, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. Usually the more times that you glue a board together, the better it gets, because the straighter the pieces become. The whole key to this is making sure that you turn the board the proper direction so you don't mess the pattern up. Really stink to get this far into the job and then mess the pattern up and have to try to cut the board back apart and fix it. This is Titebond 3 glue that I use. It is waterproof. It is food safe once it's dry. They are not, you cannot put these boards underwater. You cannot put them in a dishwasher. You cannot soak them in a sink. You clean these off with a damp rag and then you wipe them dry. They are real wood and they will, the glue joints will break on them. They'll swell up. Just makes a mess of them. Normal use, they'll last for years. I've got one in the house that I've had 5 or 6 years, and it needs to come out and be refinished, but it's still in perfect shape. Roll the pieces, give them a little rub, make them sticky. It's pretty critical on this one to make sure that the edges line up so we don't have to cut the board. Anytime that we have to do any trimming at this point changes the dimensions of the maple, and then it'll be visible. Let's try to get everything straight. I think I told you in yesterday's video or the last glue up that this is the first time I've used these new clamps, and they're definitely worth what you pay for them. They held that board perfectly straight. I didn't have any problem with the glue up whatsoever. Now I'm gonna try to pinch this across the top. Just try to hold it steady while I tighten these clamps. See, I moved it. That feels pretty good. That's the problem. This glue is so slippery. The minute you put pressure on it, they start moving around. That looks pretty good. Take this clamp off. That glue that squeezes out, that's a good thing. That means you got enough in there. If you don't get any squeeze out, you don't have enough glue. My opinion. All right, put a couple clamps on the top and let this sit overnight. That's it. We'll get it out of the clamps tomorrow. We'll run it through the drum sander and we'll be on our way to finishing up this project.